is going to be controversial. That's a crunching right hand, and that must finish.
Ruiz upstairs.
Taylor trying to catch himself, using his jab. Eats a right hand, another right hand, and he goes down. Oh my goodness! The dream is made real. Ricky Hatton rocks the world with a truly stunning win over a modern legend. He is the champion of the world.
Yes. What's going on, people? Raps on TV here, live from London, reporting all the best things in boxing. Looking forward to today's show. Hopefully, it's a packed edition. Going to discuss and run over the where else to start, really. Then the clash on the dunes. Looking forward to chopping up this agenda, which is going to be featuring Joshua fighting Ruiz, AJ versus Ruiz fight week in Saudi Arabia. Whyte cleared by the UKAD and their statement on that. The Commey versus Lopez IBF title. Part-timers joining.
Hello, Raps on TV.
What's going on, Sam? You good?
Hello, what's going on, people?
What are taking taxis from short distances?
Anything for the reps, man. Do everything for the reps.
Take your time, have some water, man. But I'm just, so good to see you. Also going to touch lightly on the Eubank Jr. and Charlo win. Hopefully that sets up a good clash between the two.
A big chat
exactly. Between the two of those guys for 2020. We're no better place to start, really. How's your weekend been, bro?
Mate, weekend was amazing, you know. It's down to Christmas time, isn't it? And, you know, Christmas time was always boxing time.
Exactly.
Let me get close to that, because last year we were blessed to have the 23rd with Dillian Whyte and Chisora, the emphatic knockout.
Yeah.
You know, this December just gone past. We've got, the Rumble in the Jungle, Thriller and Melina, part
Dunes,
2,
bro.
Clash of the Dunes with Joshua.
And you're right, to be fair, because I mean, this weekend we got Richie versus Commey. Last weekend we had Eubank Jr.
No, 100%.
BBC. 100%. Then you've got Crawford also. I mean, it's half a decent fight. You've got Javonte Davis, Gamboa, Badu Jack versus Jean Pascal. So
that's a big one.
Then we've got the next gen show. So you're definitely right. It's probably in the first time it seems like a bit of a consistent pattern that we're getting some good fights in December. But no better place to start. How did you find the fight? But where did you watch it? Most importantly.
Okay, I didn't watch it in Saudi Arabia, unlike some. But
the program.
I kind of debated in my head where I was going to watch the fight. And initially there were a few events and things like that in the box parks being held. But I opted to watch it on my own. I did pay, by the way. I paid the full £25. I wanted to stream, tempted to, but streaming isn't the right way of doing things. And as my views on boxers being paid, and
we got to add to the box.
Exactly. It was very interesting watching this out. I wanted to watch it on my own. My dad couldn't watch it. Shout out to my dad. He's probably listening. He didn't want to watch it because he just felt that AJ had to prove himself, and rightly so, came out the right way. Was able to prove it. But I watched by myself and I took my notes down and I analysed and heard what the commentators, the Sky Sports commentators said, which I felt, in my personal knowledge, was quite biased.
Yeah.
I felt it was so pro Joshua, not as much as Ruiz did gain 16 pounds. Like, damn, bro, that wasn't impressive. When I heard that, I wasn't.
That was bad. There's no two ways about that, right? But I mean, it's interesting you say that, because I did hear some rumblings while I was over there that DAZN were, I guess you could probably throw in a jab at Sky Sports in terms of maybe a cheerleader type performance. So there were comments being made about Sky's commentary. Obviously, I've not had a chance to hear that, and I'll say schoolboy error, but told the missus she had one job to do. I said, record the pay-per-view for me. One job to do.
Shout out to the missus.
And literally she recorded it all the way up until the main fight. So I watched it, and literally I was watching all the fights. I said, let me take down the Hergovich, Majidov, Whyte, Povetkin, Hunter. Then I was like, hang on a minute, why is the time coming to an end? And then so anyone with a link, just hit me up and send that to me.
And call in, please. I'm going to ask the question out to you guys about what you felt about the commentary of Tony Bellew, Adam Smith, and I think Matthew Macklin was on the the commentary side. For me, as much as I am pro Joshua, pro Nigeria, I just kind of felt that it was a bit too much in Joshua's favor in terms of the commentary. And there were times where we could actually, if put in our extra boxing technical critique hats on, I think that Joshua did make some fundamentals. He did kind of, during some of the rounds, especially towards the latter part, where he felt he was getting the upper hand, he was trying to scrap with like the natural instinct for him is to scrap and to fight. And, you could hear McCracken and those guys shouting in the corner that he should kind of stick to the game plan. And, you know, thankfully he did. But, you know, the times he did take the risk, it didn't pay off because of a slow Ruiz. And,
man. And I mean, obviously, you talk about that. Let's start really from fight week. I think, as I said, obviously, as you know, and I hope everybody that's listening now, make sure you're liking the Facebook page, you're liking the videos, and you're subscribing on the YouTube. Exactly. We need more of that.
I'm talking that talk. Comment.
Exactly.
I've been active this week. I see a few.
I see you taking shots and giving shots. I like that. But yeah, so for me, I would say, obviously, get out there. And for those of you who don't want to hear backstory, so I get to Heathrow, and I've got to say this, I get to Heathrow. I see a connect there that's also flying out, another media colleague, let's say, I won't say competitor, because we're all about collaboration, you know, so definitely good shout out Provies from Pep Talk. So I see him, and I phone him, and he's like, have you heard what happened? And I was like, what? He's like, I've got something to tell you when I see you. So I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I see him in Heathrow now, and it's like, oh, did you hear what happened to Dean Whyte? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Dean Whyte?
Shout out to Dean if you're listening.
Yeah, so I'm thinking to myself, like, right, what? He's already got down in Saudi, right? Like, they've already started troubling him. He's like, no, on his flight, a man tried to open the door of the aircraft. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, he's on a flight. Some guy tried to open the door, talking about, I want to go back to London. Let me out. So Dean's come along, and obviously hold him down. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen the reports of Sky Sports. So on the journey home, I mean, you could imagine everybody that saw Dean Whyte was like, I'm glad you're on my flight. I'm glad you're on my flight. So it was good banter. But yeah, that setting, in terms of setting the trip off, I was like, oh, this is a bit mad,
let's
to be
just
honest.
Remember what Dean said, though, as when he says about guys. I think he said it. What did he say about Fury or something else? He said he would wrap him up like a pretzel.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, he needed to... Yeah, I'm just saying you don't want to be in that predicament. And I guess the stewards were happy that he was there of all people. But
you know, having said that though, you know what I heard? I've heard that you've got to be a very strong. You've got to be insanely strong to be able to open the door.
That's it. Yeah, I think the thing is, in as much as that is true, they said that, you know, the pilot needs to unlock something. Who knows, right? I'm not going to stand there and let you wouldn't want him to stand there and let a guy try to open the door. None of us are engineers at that level, so exactly. But yeah, so that was good, getting out there. And I think the main news was it was a lot of mind games. The setup was really interesting. They had camps like where the fighters were able to train on site. So Whyte, you know, Hergovich, Ruiz, of course, were all training there. But I thought really what was the key thing to really start from, where I think everyone had the shot, was the weigh-in. So the weigh-in gets on, and I saw 283, and I'm like, what? And I was just like, how has that happened? And I don't know if anybody caught my interview with Barry Hearn. Shout out that
old
interview.
Bazza.
Yeah, old Bazza. Even he was like, yeah, this is a bit too much. And it's hard to say, it was hard to say before the fight that that's going to be detrimental to him. But I did say, you know, for somebody that's had a full camp, how do you go 50? How do you go a stone heavier than?
But so I've been saying this from early, and you know, shout out to Andy Ruiz. You know, although he disappointed himself, he still was able to upset and make history this year. And you know, he's made history as Mexico's first ever heavyweight boxing champion. But going to the point now, and to the criticism that everyone's asking is, you know, what happened. But this is where you got to wait Joshua in a way, because what happened and how I'm seeing it is a guy who made millions of pounds, who fought last time for less than 100k USD, who's now being, you know, put on Jimmy Kimmel, being put on Joe Rogan, Mike Tyson's kind of co-signing you, you know, you kind of got you've gone from zero to hero. Yeah. You know, that naturally will sink in. And, you know, you've got to understand about the Joshua stay hungry, stay humble, because this guy's made twice, 3-4 times more than what this guy's made. And, you know, he's been in the limelight and been at the top level. And the second this guy gets, you know, the cameras and the flashing lights put on him, you know, he kind of forgets the one thing that got him the kind of the spotlight. Which,
and you know what, funny as you say that, somebody in one of the pages actually said, you know what, because I agree with you, I think you've got to give Joshua full credit for being able, not even the humility, I think maintaining the hunger. No, because that's one of the big statements, you know, when you're sleeping on silk sheets, it's harder to get up in the morning. So I think that shows actually credit to Joshua. But I think actually we're now seeing it twice, because, you know, on the flip side, and you could argue it's a similar situation when Fury beat Klitschko. Someone said this on the group, when Fury beats Klitschko, it all went to wire for him. He didn't cope with the fame. He didn't cope with the success and everything.
So whenever
he's made his redemption, but
this is what I'm saying. And you know, it's quite frustrating. And, you know, I struggle to have this argument with a lot of my friends. And, you know, one of my friends I was talking with, shout out him, he knows who he is. He's listening in. Not saying his name though, but he was kind of discrediting Joshua, saying that he ran and did all this, and, you know, Joshua's fight was boring, and, you know, but 1 minute you're saying Joshua won't be able to beat outbox Ruiz, and when he outboxes him, he's boring, and you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you won't, kind of in that situation. And you kind of got to give the guy credit, because 6 months to really gain and understand and fall in love with the sport of boxing again, and understand and go back to basics and Finchley ABC, go back to your basic roots of knowing how to move and to hit and not get hit, and not just being this tough, rough fighter that can just be in the pocket and stand your ground. And, you know, he's got to be able to use his boxing brain. And everybody said, unless Joshua knocks him out, which he won't, Ruiz has got his card marked. And, you know, can you argue there's a bit of complacency from Ruiz? 100%. But at the same time, he probably had the longer camp. He also was kind of bragging to people he had a great camp beforehand. He was also saying that, you know, he celebrated his birthday a month before or a few weeks before he gets into camp.
Seems like he'd maintained that, but he had 30-day birthday celebration.
I think he got a bit too excited over the Snickers sponsorship and just ate a bit too much and just gained weight. And, you know, this guy, some people can't handle fame, and which is why, you know, the famous guys of the world and the guys that are able to make it out and not go crazy, and, you know,
you got to give credit.
You got to give credit. Look at,
I mean, talk to me about the performance from AJ. I know you mentioned everybody said that he would lose, and I have to say, while I was out there, a lot of people were saying he's going to lose, even more so off camera. But I would also say that you know, a lot of people were kind of saying, look, the adjustment he needs to make, will he be able to do so in such a short time?
That was the biggest question.
So talk to me about those adjustments that were quite visible. How did you see it?
I saw.
How would you rate it out of 10?
Realistically, 10 being absolutely amazing, best boxing ability. I'll probably give him about a 7.
Okay.
Purely because of the fact that everyone thought he was going to knock him out and go for the wild cards, and, you know, Joshua's really good at throwing in the pocket big blows. Like we saw what happened with Povetkin with, you know, he was, you know, rattled at the start of the fight because he got a bit too complacent. And that was the kind of start of, you know, the kind of opening and the weakness shown of Joshua. And I think Ruiz kind of preyed on that and other things as well. But in terms of him being in the pocket and compared to how he was in the fight, he was boxing long. And dare I say this, but I don't think that performance is just made up of a Rob McCracken masterclass. I believe that is Klitschko.
Man's got the conspiracy theories out there.
Long. That is Vladimir Klitschko at his absolute.
So you think it's Vladimir Klitschko or Jonathan Banks?
Jonathan Banks, which is Vladimir Klitschko. And, you know, that's got him written all over it. Look at the way he was boxing, the kind of bobbing around, kind of the mind games.
Interesting.
That was pure Klitschko written all over it in terms of when he asked him, what's the strategy to beat me? That reminded me of backing, when was the fight? 2016, 2017? 2016, 2017? 2017?
With who? Klitschko
Joshua. When, you know, Vladimir was saying, you know,
2017,
he was like my little bro, you know, the kind of, what's going on? What's the strategy? You know, you got me last time, but you might not get me this time. And, you know, I kind of listened to that and listened to a few other, you know, podcasters and personalities speaking about the fight. You know, nobody thought Joshua would box that way. And this is why they were quite surprised. And, you know, I really like this new adaptation of Joshua and being able to really surround himself and immerse himself in the environment, which kind of leads me to go on and think this guy has, you know, had limited amateur experience, was always thrown in the deep end, always learning on the job. And the one time he slips up, you know, his kind of livelihood and status and legacy is at risk here. And he was able to kind of say he can do it. He was humiliated in New York. Let's not get this twisted. He was very humble. And he was obsessed, kind of like Klitschko, which I think Klitschko was written all over this.
And I think if I can say to add then, I think when you focus on the New York loss, one, the location, you know, making your debut in the States, obviously getting knocked down 4 times and eventually being stopped by the ref. I can half see why I think some people have been, I do think it's overcritical. That's why I even think it's, to be fair, I think even 7 out of 10 is a bit harsh, but I do think, but you're still being positive. I think the people that are really criticizing him, saying, oh, he just ran, he just boxed, I think the first thing you have to understand is Joshua had one job, in my opinion, and that one job was to regain those belts and become a 2-time world champion.
No, 100%.
For anybody to kind of say, oh, you know, he should have knocked him out. Yes, there's an argument for that because he got knocked out. But there's also the argument to say, well, he should have just run it back in New York. It doesn't happen. But the main thing is they've agreed to get into the ring together. So on that basis, Joshua needed to use the tools that he has to be able to sort of get the victory. And I think we all would have said in the first fight, what he should have done is stay behind the jab. I think in the first fight, if he had stayed behind the jab a bit more, he maybe could have got the knockout. And the reason I say that is, you know, in the first round of this fight in the rematch, Joshua landed a big right, you know, immediately cut Ruiz.
Unbelievable.
Half short, kind of buckled his legs.
Ruiz was shocked.
I think more than even the knockdown punch in New York.
Even his corner were looking like, oh my God, what's happening here? We got a bit too excited.
You say that, but you could see Ruiz was pissed off. So you could see Manny Ruiz. They know, and you know, I spoke to a couple of sources within the camp, and they were saying, look, you know, they closer to the fight, they're saying, you know, they started seeing he's not training, he's not doing this. And I think sometimes even now we look back, there were some signs about what's being said. You know, I interviewed the nutritionist.
Yeah.
And even what he's saying, you know, again. So obviously I'm out here plugging the interviews, guys, making sure you subscribe to that YouTube, Facebook, and all of that.
Anywhere else?
Don't know. But yeah, so from my perspective, I think now we look back, it's signs, but I think we've got to give credit to Joshua.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone that doesn't is a hate. And I read in the group, I forgot his name, and you know, shout out whoever he is. But he put in the chat and shared that, you know, why is it just a British thing to not be behind their own and back their own? We've been screaming for a heavyweight champion since even before you know, the Lennox Lewis days, you know, even Tyson. You can argue Tyson Fury is a great Brit, but you know, it's a very controversial Brit. But in terms of having a clean-hearted, in terms of looking at the sponsorship aspect and the whole kind of in society, we've got someone in Joshua who stayed hungry, stayed humble in his brand, set up things, done things the right way, the bad path, bad boy, done all that, and is now, you know, making such a great living and boxing in such an emphatic fashion. Like, he's done the knockouts, he's done all of this, and you know, if he doesn't win, which is like I've said before, it's a bit of trouble for British boxing. Who's the next heavyweight to come through? Which is why heavyweights are probably arguably one of the most attractive weight classes, if not the attractive weight class in boxing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, shout out. So I met a good connect out there, boxing talk. Ade, he recently done a video saying it's the best division. I probably wouldn't say it's the best or strongest, and the reason I would say it is purely because we're not going to see a lot of guys fight each other. But I think if you're looking at quantity, there is a good cream, and I think actually, if I was somebody like the Sourlands, hint, I would be focusing on, you know, I mean, Nisei. I would be saying. My strategy would be, you know what, for the next 2020, my focus would be to doing a World Boxing Super Series heavyweights with just the fringes. The key thing I would do,
like the franchise belt on the line or something like that.
And it probably won't be a franchise belt, but essentially what you're saying, yes, an IBO, a belt that is
would
something.
The governing bodies back it though?
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I think an IBO potentially. Do you know what I mean? WBO,
bro.
But these guys, I'm talking about Hergovich, a Majidov, a Joe Joyce, maybe even a Dubois, maybe an Ajagba.
No,
those guys. They could take the IBO because at least that strengthens their half position to try and get a title shot. You know what I mean? And if you're one of the other champion, you can fight one of these guys and it's an entertaining fight. But I think for the World Boxing Super Series, I would say, look, how can they align with some type of body to just put a belt on the type, whether it's a super, even if it's WBA super. Manuel Charles, a WBA super champion in the heavyweights. When was the last time you watched him fight? When was the last time he was even mentioned against a credible opponent? So yeah, I think
the heavyweight tournament would be fantastic.
I think it would be fantastic. But how would you
UK soil?
This guy in the
no
UK,
DAZN, none of that.
Boy, I mean, talking about that with them Sky Sports, obviously you bought a pay-per-view. You think they did good business over this fight?
I think it was unbelievable business. I think I watched IFL TV and Eddie Hearn said it was between 1.2 to 1.1 million buys. So £25, do the maths, it's around £30 million.
Yeah.
That is,
I think it's good, isn't it?
I heard it broke broke it. So
I mean, when you think about it, I can understand why, because of the timing.
9 p.m. UK time.
Very few people are going to watch it in Saudi on a Saturday.
People are doing the shows.
There was a lot of parties, right?
There was a lot. There was one even around here near the studios. There was one in Shoreditch. There was so many big events going on for Joshua because they thought this is the actual it. This is the end of Joshua. This is Joshua's last dance, and he struck up. If you heard what he was listening to, my Nigerian people, you heard the song he was coming out to. That is called Fela Kuti Water No Get Enemy. That is about power and standing up for yourself and standing up for what's right and what you believe in and what's yours, which is why, he did that. And, Adam Smith was playing on that, saying he spent some time in Nigeria and, becoming not born again as such, but, he's very showing his religious side. He's really showing that he's being back into his roots. And, for those who believe in religion, he's finding his faith and he's trying to get back to himself being humble, which is back to his brand of, staying humble and trying to get back to his roots to get to and fight for people. When people say, and when I said in the show a couple of weeks back, or when I called in and said about the Ruiz fight and saying that, Ruiz got the whole of Mexico. We've got to remember, Joshua has the whole of Nigeria behind him. Joshua has the whole of the UK, if anything, all the casual market, depending on this guy. So we look at the pressure on both. They both had a lot to lose here, and Joshua more, but, he really handled that pressure well and kind of excelled to where he needed to go and boxed unbelievably. But shout out to Mr. Banks and Klitschko for probably giving him the advice, and Rob McCracken. And really, what I liked about AJ was the fact that he allowed McCracken to front it and be the head coach, but also implement new ideas. He also was open to having sparring partners like Andrew Tabiti. That was when I heard he was in the camp, even though the other guys were there, but I thought Tabiti, because he's got the Mayweather hands. And Ruiz, if you look at the way he boxes and how he uses his hands, it's similar to the Mayweather gym and how they do things. And being able to mimic that and have that for the long 12 to 15 week camp that he had was, I think that was a real blessing.
And obviously, shout out Timothy Mayhem Motem, interviewed him. Great interview. He spoke about, him like really trying to get into Joshua's camp to be a sparring partner. And I think you could see it from a brotherhood perspective. They were really sort of close. They all formed a bond. You can see that again with Tabiti, Brian Jennings. So, I think, look, Joshua did what was necessary. I also like the fact Angel Fernandez got brought into the gym for me. And I want to speak about this also for the Dillian Whyte fight. I think it's good to start seeing a new crop. I think, look, the boxing game, in terms of having true teachers of the skill set of the fight game, there are few and far between. So I think you get a lot of the coaches nowadays that have their own methods, their own processes. I think the key thing is someone like an Angel Fernandez, someone like an IQ, Xavier Miller, who I'm going to speak about next, them being brought into the highest level and bringing success, I think really is testament to what they're trying to do. And hopefully over time they can mix it in with, the likes of Buddy McGirt, 100%. John David Jackson, Virgil Hunter, Bo Mack, a lot of these Floyd Mayweathers, a lot of these older coaches, they can start combining. But yeah, for me, I think overall, if I rated Joshua's performance out of 10, I think if I'm going to be honest, I'll give it a 9 purely because of the doubters. He wasn't to know Ruiz.
Fair, you're nice.
But I think because I would have said probably 8 because I still saw there some flaws. I think in terms of being hit, I think you could also argue that we didn't see the best Ruiz or a better Ruiz. But Joshua wasn't to know that. Problem. That's what I'm saying. Joshua wasn't to know that. He had to come in, get the job done. He was being written off, and he was gonna employ a tactic which a lot of people felt he couldn't. And to be fair, he done it down to the T, even when he got caught inside. Okay, he might have pushed Ruiz off and ran to the other side of the ring, but guess what? It doesn't allow them to engage. So hopefully over time you might see him perfect it. Personally, I want to see the knockouts.
Of course.
But at the same time,
he had too much to lose, man.
He had one job to do, and it was to get bring the belts back. So for me, I'm cool with that. Moving on, Dillian Whyte, great news Saturday morning. We got the news.
Shout out to everyone that was saying Dillian Whyte was a drug abuser, based on his history and whatnot. And it just shows that silence is key, and nothing is said until it's done. And shout out to all the boxing fans saying Dillian Whyte should be banned. And the WBC, I think they've been absolutely totally unfair. I think next year, if he's not demanded and summoned to have his world title shot after the Wilder's Fury outcome, I think the Hearns, Matchroom, Perform, all the other people in boxing and everyone should come forward to put pressure on Maurizio Sullivan and the WBC to give this guy the shot. As they said, they remained loyal to the WBC. Whether it was tactical or not, they've still remained loyal to a governing body with the promise of being able to get the WBC belt. The WBC belt. And the WBC belt is, it's probably the most kind of prestigious belt out of them all. The Muhammad Ali belt, as they like to call it. And you know, I just think it's such a disjustice. Every time he has an opponent, every time someone's put in front of him, he wins. He gets the W, whether it's nice or not. And this guy's had an even more limited amateur and professional background than AJ. In terms of just access to the top
from kickboxing.
Exactly, the top trainer. People didn't realize that he had an MMA background. He really fought, and you know, he's doing a lot to get himself to the level, and he's got a great team around him. He's recruited an unbelievable world level coach who is, I believe, one of the most underrated coaches in boxing. In Mark Tibbs, even though people take the piss out of him quite a lot, he's quite a funny geezer. Shout out to Tibbsy. You interviewed him, right? Exactly. I was cracking up at that when I saw the shiny gnashers. Go ahead, Dillion's unbelievable. But you know, shout out to Mark, and you know, bringing into the new year, I really hope to see a shot. Or I hope if the belts get scattered and they vacated, I hope to see Dillian Whyte collect one of the belts next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, you know, and I'll say, look, when and a lot of people over the years, especially this year, you know, you get people coming on and say, oh, you need to be overcritical. I think for me, you have to say, in regards to Dillian Whyte, I think until you have certain evidence, I think it's hard to really, not even throw a man on the bus. It's really hard to comment. I think what Hearn or Whyte was saying wasn't unfair. If there's a legal situation, there's a case pending, then they needed to be silent. You can't speak on it. And I'm going to be honest, also, Dillian Whyte probably isn't a man that if you give it the wrong type of energy, if it's proven to be incorrect like now, he's the type of guy that might just step to you and just be like, what was you saying? And why would you say stuff without any proof? So, I mean, look, I'm not saying that should hold you or make you hold your tongue. I think you've got to be realistic. So, what I will say with Dillian Whyte is that I don't think we can underestimate how much it affected him, because like if you check all his social media posts since that till now, it's been like a lot of training. It seems like he's been very active, but actually if you really deep it, it's been affected him. He came in overweight, and Mark Tibbs said something which was very true, and I think we shouldn't underestimate his mindset. He showed the right mindset to allow to come and agree to that fight 100%. And actually last the test. And for Whack, I said it before. I said, look, Whack is going to be up for it. He was. So there's for me, I think Dillian Whyte definitely needs a title shot next year. I mean, I'm still even sitting here thinking, and it's a shame because he's not ranked with the other bodies, but it's a shame that even a Usyk and a Chisora will get a title shot before Dillian Whyte. Sad. I think the problem you're just going to have, unless Dillian Whyte maybe signs to a PBC, which I'm not advocating him to do. I'm just saying, I just don't see how you're going to be able to force Wilder to take that mandatory over the Fury fight, which is probably going to happen, maybe not in February, but between February and May.
I think the date is May.
So I feel for him, man. But I think, you know what? He signed off 2019 in good fashion. And I think, you know, I think 2020, Hearn and his team need to have a conversation and say, look, what's the best route? And let's try and get it. So,
question really quickly before we move on to the other subjects, and we have calls up to callers. But do you think there will be a number of defamation of character suits to the media, to the press, to all the kind of controversy?
It depends. I think it depends because I don't know. You know, Thomas Hauser is the big one. Eddie Hearn's mentioned it, but let's be honest. How can you do that overseas? You know, is Thomas House is based in the US?
Does he want to spend the money?
Does he want to spend the money? Does he want the energy, the time? Even like you said, it's even just being updated on the case that's pending. I think what you'll probably see is a lot of guys will just get restricted access, especially for his fights. And I think you might see him. You know, I love Dillian Whyte, but he knows how to. He's not a bully, but he knows how to put you on edge. If you know what I mean?
Dillian Whyte is a temporary bully, man. When you're fighting him, he's gonna bully you.
Especially in that sense. So
mind games are crazy.
Mind games are crazy. So for me, I think you would definitely probably going to see bits of that. But I think for me, it's a good look. So just gonna before we start opening up the calls, Eubank Jr. interim WBA title. I mean, look, everyone's being a slightly critical, which I definitely get. You've got, in my opinion, you do have to say to yourself, look, at the end of the day, he wasn't to know Korobov's shoulder was going to do what it did.
No, of course.
And he went into the fight.
Why are you still criticizing Chris for? It annoys me because look, this guy has done. You've got to respect this guy because look, he was with the Matchroom guys. They decided that look, we don't really like the way you've been treated. We don't really like for political reasons or whatever reasons. We don't feel that our relationship's working together.
Yeah.
So they parted ways. They went with I forgot his name. Is it Richard or the ITV promoter?
Oh, it's just BBC.
They went with PBC.
Yeah.
And they seem to be doing well. We got put into the Super Series. He got paid a huge payday, probably one of his biggest paydays to date for losing. They knew
independent at that time. It was afterwards,
yeah.
after losing to Groves, that's when he signed with BBC.
But he was with ITV before when he won the IBO.
It was a one-off deal.
It was it was a one-off deal. You know, when everyone heard of ITV, they were saying, "What? Why is it going on ITV and complaining about the fee for the pay-per-view?"
Yeah.
He's gone all that way. He's done everything his way without the Eddie Hearn, without the DAZN, without the backing, and just pure him being a self-promoter. Can you argue that Chris Eubank Jr. should be not Anthony Joshua level, but he should be a way bigger athlete and kind of star and bring way more to British boxing than what he currently does? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you've got to rate the guy. He did what he had to do in the ring. It wasn't his fault, and onwards and upwards for him. And I hope to see him actually get a title that it's not accredited because the IBO is a massive accreditation and big governing body. But I would like to see him get the more socially accepted belts, the WBCs, the WBAs, and seeing him, you know, I want to see him with that Smith fight. I want to see him at the top levels. And, you know,
I think he's going to do Charlo. I think the Smith,
straight
because
away.
of the Matchroom, I think, and I like that fight personally. I think if they can get that fight done.
Eubank's style is entertaining. Whether you like him or not, senior, junior, the whole shebang, you want to watch it.
Yeah. And I think also on that card, you had Charlo that was headlining. I thought it was good to get him. Get them both on the same card. They both kind of got reasonable performances, more so Charlo. I think you're looking at seeing those guys kind of come together. 2020. Just want to quickly take it back onto the Dillian Whyte, Javier Milla, big up IQ Boxing, based out of Neasden, represents or coaches a lot of fighters like Super Yusuf. Again, I want to just talk about Dillian Whyte and the testament of the type of person he is. He had IQ Xavier, who's sort of, you know, self-starter. He's been in the boxing game a long time, but he's not one of the most known box coaches. But I think his technical game is of a high level. Dillian Whyte started working with him briefly on light things. Said, I would like you to come into the camp. That's helping Dillian. I think that's helping Xavier with his portfolio profile.
Definitely.
He's working with Tibbs. You could see that they had good banter amongst them. Also, a man like John Harding Jr., Pester, his story.
Harding Jr.
You know what I mean? You look at his stories, all right? You look at his story and you look at where he's got to. Even if you say to yourself, wow, man was proper. Like, I can tell you, see the access. See the access. That's what I'm saying, bro. You see the access for the Saudi Arabia trip. But I'm telling you, it was no joke. Even to the point where they didn't even want to let Sam Watson in the ring. So you got to understand the security level were high because you're talking about the whole Saudi Arabian family being there. So, like, it was very, very highly restricted access. But listen, it was all good. I think from my perspective, Dillian Whyte shows that he's a man of the people because he's given these guys opportunities.
Platform.
Took it and he took time. Even when I saw him in the morning, I could tell he was pissed off, but he still gave me a bit of time for the interview. So listen, we're going out to the calls. Guys, once the calls start piling up, we are going to do one-rounders. So one-rounders means you will get up to 3 minutes to make your point.
3 people, not 10.
And yeah, exactly. So if I do have to cut you when you hit it, ding, 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 10 seconds left, don't take it personally and make sure you call in again. But for those that we're about to answer the calls to, looking forward to hearing your comments of boxing this week. But do not forget, everybody that's listening, past, present, or future, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like that Facebook page, and tell everybody, tell a friend to tell a friend, Raps on TV, fans talking boxing. So we're going to go out to 488. Hello.
Okay, Joe. Hi guys, it's Dave Joe, Boxing Voice. How are you? Okay.
Yeah,
hello.
How you doing,
good
Dave?
evening.
You good?
Yeah, I'm good. So I'll keep it fast. Normally I talk along for a while.
You got one round.
Let's go.
Yeah. So first of all, great footage from yourself, mate. That was absolutely wonderful.
Yep.
In regards to AJ, I'm going to score him a 10. If I'm being totally honest, that's one of the best performances I've seen from AJ. It was absolutely. I know it was missing the knockout, but what brilliant AJ 2.0 Vladimir Klitschko-esque type performance he put on. He boxed really well. He stuck to a game plan. Shame on Andy Ruiz. Fooled the world by saying he's lost a lot of weight. When I spoke to Eddie Hearn a few weeks ago, he was saying, look, Andy Ruiz should be releasing a book for Christmas as to how he's lost the weight. And come the way in 283, it was absolutely disgraceful, to be fair. Didn't take it seriously.
Yeah.
And AJ, great fights await him, to be fair. It was a masterclass, a boxing masterclass.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point that you made there in terms of the mind games. He totally fooled us. Just talk to us about Ruiz's. How would you rate Ruiz's performance on the night, regardless?
Absolutely awful. I mean, I had a fight party. Put it this way, got a bit, got a bit messy, so I had to watch it again on the Sunday, and I'm still recovering now. But I didn't give him a round. I gave him no rounds whatsoever. I think he was awful. Yeah, the ring was bigger. I felt that the ring. I mean, you saw it yourself in the flesh, didn't you, Kojo? Yes. I think it was a massive ring. Joshua used it to his advantage with chasing him around the ring, and Andy Ruiz just didn't get out of first gear. He was awful, pedestrian. Not very good, to be fair. I gave unanimous decision 120 to Joshua. I did not give him one round. Did you guys give him any rounds?
I gave him a couple of rounds, but I'm keen to ask you about the. I'm assuming you watched this and streamed it legally on Sky Sports. What did you make of the commentary? I felt it was quite biased, but what?
Well, this is the thing. When we had our fight party, it was Sky Sports, and it was a bit biased. And then I watched it again on DAZN commentary. And DAZN commentary, I think, I can't remember which round it was. They were having a pop at some of the Sky presenters. Especially their journalistic integrity. That was the word that came out. However, it's probably hard for the guys, I mean, they see Joshua as a friend. It's hard. I get that. It's similar to when Harry Carpenter said, get him my son, I think, or get him Frank, when it was Frank Bruno versus Tyson in their first fight. So it's hard. I get that. It's very, very difficult. Not going to criticize why they did it, but I understand why they were criticized.
No, of course, totally. What did you make of Hunter and Povetkin? That was a very, I've had mixed. What'd you make of it?
That was a great fight, to be fair. Hunter boxed well. It was a bit closer than what. It was quite close, wasn't it?
It was.
But I think Hrgovic's fight. Yeah, I like the Hrgovic fight, to be fair. I think that was a good fight.
One to watch for.
I think that guy's going to be that guy's going to be a beast. In days to come. But excellent footage from yourself.
It
was a shame. I couldn't be there, but it was good.
Definitely. Listen, so we're gonna move on. Are you at the Next Gen show next week?
I'm going to be at Ultimate Boxer 6 and trying to get out for the Next Gen show. So I'll catch up with you either one of those, mate.
Definitely.
We look forward to seeing you, brother.
All right. Cheers. Take care. Cheers.
Take care.
Cheers. Moving out to Anonymous. I think this is Unks. Hello, Uncle.
GB.
All right, guys. How you doing?
Yeah,
we're doing good.
The fan favorites back.
we did it again. Baby. Just like Muhammad Ali. my. Anthony Oluwafemi Olafemi Joshua. Nigerian Nightmare.
The Nigerian Nightmare. That's the first time for that. What did you make of the fight?
Look, guys, I think it was an excellent technical boxing performance, which is what I was expecting and I was looking for. He shut up his critics. One of you said a bit like Klitschko. I think it was a mixture of Klitschko, a bit of Leonard Lewis, a bit of Muhammad Ali and Larry Holmes. And I think with this kind of style, he's maturing now as a boxer. It actually makes him more difficult to beat going forward because I now am more confident in him in the fight against Deontay Wilder because he may need to use different attributes just because of Wilder's one-trick pony power. Yeah?
Yeah.
So I think that was excellent. So I'm, I gave it a 7.5/8, but then I'm a harsh judge.
Yeah.
He didn't need to knock the guy out. I mean, when you go mano a mano with a Mexican, you're asking for trouble. Even Azuma Nelson didn't always go mano a mano when he fought Mexicans.
Yes.
So he did what he was supposed to do. I wanted to touch on Dillian Whyte.
Yes.
I'm not a fan of Dillian, but I do respect him.
Yes.
Okay.
In terms of the whole controversy, I really don't know, because I still think there's a lot we do not know. And I'm not sure. I don't think it's been handled very well. You have to feel for him, because he keeps going through all these fights, and he does deserve a title shot. But I don't think he's going to get one until 2021. I think Joshua is going to be tied up with his mandatory.
Yeah.
I think Deontay Wilder is tied up with Tyson Fury. I understand after the next fight in February that I believe there's a rematch clause.
Yep, exactly. Should Fury win, there's a rematch clause. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they'll have a trilogy. So, and I'm not, because you might be thinking, I don't want to say anything controversial on Dillian, because he might come to my house.
Yes,
for real.
Well, maybe his brother Big Dean may come over.
Exactly.
No. But I think that, I think they're good guys. I wish him the best. I mean, he's improved himself as a boxer.
Yeah.
I think he needs to be careful about putting on too much weight. That was the one negative. It was understandable in the circumstances, but
yeah,
I
think that's a good. That's no, Uncle.
He doesn't. And then one other point. You guys did talk about Commey and Lopez.
That is on the list. Give us your thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts on that, please.
The floor is yours.
Well, I've been watching Lopez, and I know he's dangerous, and Commey is a good fighter. Yeah. Of course, being an African, I have to go for hope for Commey. But I do think Lopez is dangerous.
Yeah.
And I know Lopez is motivated, because if he wins this fight, he gets his wish, which is Lomachenko.
Yeah.
So that lightweight division is very interesting.
Yeah.
But for me, the cream of the crop at lightweight is not Lomachenko or whatever he calls himself. It's the tank himself, Gervonta Davis.
Now he's there.
Yes.
So, Uncle,
that's my guy.
No, definitely. And listen, Uncle, thank you very much for the call. As you know, he's fighting Gamboa late December, so hopefully we'll get to hear your points on that in the new year. But thank you again for calling in.
Very much.
Got to move to the next caller, but again, appreciate the support as always, Uncle.
No problem.
Cheers.
Well done.
Thank you. Care. Cheers. Bye bye. 985, Mr. Appiah. How you doing, sir?
Oh, here we go, Mr. Appiah.
How are we doing?
Yes, we're doing good.
Hello,
how you doing?
How are you?
Yeah, I'm all good, fellas. Thank you very much. I'm all good. All good.
What's on your mind?
Yeah, listen, fantastic win by Anthony Joshua. And I've got a couple of questions for you, boys. Who would you like to see Anthony Joshua fight next? And where does Andy Ruiz go from here?
In answer to your question, first of all, Anthony Joshua, great performance. Who would I want him to fight next? I think in terms of testing his boxing ability and how we're talking about this new reformed and new life of Joshua, I think Usyk would be a great matchup for him.
Yeah, I agree with you.
At that top
100%,
level,
mate.
Usyk would be really good, and that will really test Joshua's boxing skill. And especially as he's not after the power, he knows he can knock out. He's now trying to see how he can really outsmart a boxer and beat them in that way. And Usyk's a tactician. We saw the way he broke down Bellew, not suggesting at all Joshua fight is going to put up a fight like Bellew did, even though he put up a great one. But it'll be interesting to see how Joshua is able to kind of transform his body and change his movement and strategize over someone who's smaller, more compact and a tactician in Usyk. But in
you say Usyk?
Yeah, Usyk in terms of how he's able to fight. And for Ruiz, commiserations to him. But the next fight I'd like to see is, I'm going to say this in my chest, Chisora. I'd love to see him in Chisora. I'd like to see him fight either a Chisora or Michael Hunter, an all-American kind of dust-off. Especially if Hunter had that, not controversial draw, but it was not boring. I don't want to see a Povetkin. I think Povetkin's done. He's kind of like the test. But Derek Chisora, the O2 in London with Ruiz, a great showdown.
Yeah.
With a packed undercard.
Great shout. And then, question back to you. Who would you like to see Joshua fight next?
I'd like to see Joshua fight Usyk. I think that would be fantastic. I think if he goes in with a mindset thinking he wants to box, I do think he'll get beat.
Yeah.
I think Usyk without boxing, that's Usyk. That's Usyk's thing. You're going to try and box him, and Usyk moves well for a big man.
Yeah.
Right? And Anthony Joshua's going to go in there and try and outbox him. He's going to get beat. So I think that's a fight he could lose. And would be
definitely.
Yeah.
Fascinating thinking about it. Would really like to see that. But yeah, so yeah. Yeah.
Wicked. All right. So and last I'm gonna get your thoughts on Ruiz. Just a question to you. Obviously, when you saw that he was 15 pounds overweight, or when you heard that, what was your first thought, truthfully?
You're taking the piss, really. I mean, you're taking the piss. You show no desire. I predicted him to win. He let me down.
Yeah.
He didn't do the donkey work. Do the donkey work, and then on fight night, do the business.
Yeah, train hard, fight easy.
Down.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You're no longer the prediction king anymore. You're no longer. You called Wilder, now you flopped on Ruiz. What's going on?
I've lost that title, bro. I've lost that title. Yep, I've lost it. Yep, hands up, I've lost it.
So listen, no worries, Dan. Listen, we're moving to the next caller.
One more thing. Listen, your coverage over there, first class, mate.
Oh, thank you very much.
Right, you want to keep that up, keep covering ground like that, and keep doing more interviews. Because when I'm looking for boxing on YouTube and stuff, that's what I'm looking for, interviews. To listen to in my car and stuff.
Yeah.
To keep putting it in and keep getting interviews.
No,
nice one. Keep up the good work.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Cheers, matey.
Yeah.
Cheers. 816 going out to 816. Hello.
Yo, it's your boy John Harding Jr. in the building. What's good?
What's good, John? You good?
We've got a special guest on the show.
Special caller. Appreciate that, bro.
Harding.
What's good? Look up in the sky. The bird is a plane. No fly. What's good, my people?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Back from Saudi, man. How do you enjoy the trip, bro?
Saudi was refreshing. You know what I mean? We were treated nice. We were welcomed. Beautiful environment. Just seeing another culture, and just learning of all the fighters. Everyone was respectable. Every fighter I came across, even AJ greeted us and everything, and just seeing how I'm close with Dylan, so I just love seeing how he deals with fight night, the pressure, the media, everything in one. It was just so educational, man.
Yeah, no, thank you for that, and appreciate you calling in to giving your comments. Just a question for you, and if you can, I mean, how excited, or I say excited, but how happy were the team on the Saturday morning when the news came in about the UKAD statement?
Oh man, damn! Hey, listen, I could have run butt naked around the block, but I would have got my hands up or something. You know what I'm saying? But now we were happy, man. We was that, you start seeing, because it was a hard time, man. Coming out of deep talks, man. It's something you work so hard for, and it's about to get taken away, and people turn your back. I see all the comments and the jokes, and you know what I mean, like. It's so hard in life where you get down and people turn their back on you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I felt that feeling, you know what I mean, when I was incarcerated, that type of feeling. So when you now raise yourself up and you start seeing, who's really there for you, and you because everyone wants to start running back and celebrating with you, and it's like, wow, you got to turn your back.
Yeah.
And it's similar with Joshua. Now everyone's, hey, Joshua, hey. But I can remember, when you lost to Ruiz, it was like, everyone they didn't respect Joshua no more. So it's just a fabulous thing when you see the reality of the mentality of the people around you, and it gets you to know who's really there for you and who's not.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And also for yourself, I mean, I know we spoke about the Saudi people treating you well, but even just for you to experience, you know, being ringside more or less, you know, 100 feet from the corner, soaking up all the atmosphere. I saw you living up in the premium hospitality suite, doing it like a grown folk.
Hey, I was a prince of Saudi Arabia for half an hour, man. It was good. It was beautiful. Oh man. It was wonderful, man. Yeah, nah. You know, just being in the corner. You know, the corner is something different, man. Like if you're a second late with something, it is just absolutely, you know. I can remember being in the corner and looking and saying, "Yo, Dylan's acting a bit different, man." You know, I watched Dylan close him, like he's blinking, he's getting caught with shots that he wouldn't get caught with. Then, you know, you're realizing that, oh damn, you know, you alert one guy and he's like, oh shit, yeah, let me get ready, and okay, you know what I mean? It's like everyone has their part to play in that corner. If you're a second late with anything, whether it's the bucket, whether it's the water, whether it's the ice, it can have effect on the fight. So it was definitely educational, everything, man. Yeah, man.
Appreciate that. So listen, John, appreciate you calling in. I know it was just a quick one, but thank you very much. As usual, look forward to getting you on the show in the new year. Before we go, just shout out your social media so people can keep following you.
Yo, it's Tech the Superstar. Hit me up on anything, man. John Harding Jr., you'll find me, man. You can't miss me, my people. One love.
Big up, bro.
Big up. Appreciate that. One love. So just going out to 408. Hello.
Yes, coach. It's your boy Dean. Dean Sinclair.
How you doing, Dean? You good?
I'm good, bro. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. We're good, man. How did you find the fight?
It was okay. I don't think it's as bad as some people's making out. It wasn't a classic. The first fight was a classic. It wasn't a classic, but it was a good fight. For me, it was watchable, and I was impressed with AJ. I did have him to win. I predicted AJ would win, but I didn't think he would. I didn't think he had that in his locker, and to do it for 12 rounds as well. I was impressed with him, and he looked strong. He looked light on his feet going into the 9th, 10th, 11th round, and I was impressed with AJ.
Yeah.
It's another thing. It's another side to his game now. He's got in his locker, and I think. Listen, people are saying he's a runner. For me, he will use that style when he needs to. More often not, he'll go for the knockout because that's just him. That's his instinct. But when he needs to use that style on a Ruiz type fighter, he will use it. If he fights Dylan Whyte, he'll probably use a similar sort of tactic. But you've got to be adaptable. For me, like Wilder's a knockout artist. If you're fighting Wilder, you know what he's looking for, that one big punch.
So is Wilder beating Joshua? Is Wilder beating Joshua, mate?
Sorry?
Is Wilder beating Joshua?
For me, that's a 50-50 who gets to who first.
Yes.
If Wilder hits AJ, it's over. But if AJ gets to Wilder first, it's probably over because Wilder's never been in with a puncher like AJ either.
Yeah.
So for me, the Wilder AJ fight for me is a 50-50 who gets to who first.
Nice.
And that's it basically.
No, I like that.
I think Fury beats AJ at the moment still.
Okay.
But in a year's time, I think Fury beats AJ if there's to fight say now. But in a year's time, 18 months time, that's to be a different story because the fighter I saw on Saturday night is a fighter, in my opinion, that's getting better. He's listening, he's learning, he's picking up experience, he's picking up knowledge. And in a year to 8 months time, Fury AJ could be a lot closer than I think it would be at the moment.
And Dean, I'm going to go because there's a minute left to the call. Dillian Whyte, how did you find the Dillian Whyte performance and how he signed off 2019?
That wasn't a great performance, but mentally, to be honest, I don't think he was there. He's pissed off, you see. He's pissed off at the moment. Yeah. He didn't really train properly, but listen, Dillian Whyte's a good fighter. He's going to get himself back in shape. He'll be back next year, and hopefully the WBC pull their finger out and gives him his title shot after the Fury Wilder fight. Yeah, because he deserves it. It's bang out of order what they've done.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Last 30 seconds. Anything else on your mind?
Yeah, just ask you, how was your trip to Saudi? How was it?
Brother, it was, I can't lie to you, it was good. Definitely 30 seconds won't cover it, but I would say, listen, for everybody or anybody that's listening, for Riyadh, I can't talk about the whole country, but for Riyadh as a whole, don't believe what you hear. The development there is on the next level. Went out for a wicked meal, so in terms of food is nice level. People are friendly. Everything's easy, safety in terms of crime. I didn't feel any sort of hostility at all. I'm going to be real. I was walking around all types of hours of the morning, whether it's 2 a.m., 3 a.m., by myself in groups, and it was cool. So I would definitely say, look out for Riyadh people. They're trying to be the next Dubai. I can't talk about their human rights law stuff. I'm not an expert on that, but I will say that for my trip, nothing but positivity.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Richard, nice one.
Thank you very much.
I hope there's many more events here.
Definitely. I think there will be. So moving on to 830. Hello.
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Is that Xavier?
What's going on? How are you?
How you doing, bro? You good?
All good.
Good. Appreciate you coming onto the show. I guess, look, for guys that they would have heard me earlier, I was actually speaking about you and saying that, it's really positive that Dillian's, brought somebody like yourself into his training camp. It gives you're an experienced coach, but it gives you even great experience, coming out to Saudi, working with Dillian, who's turning into, surely a world-class fighter. I guess I just want to come back to, I've got a few interviews with yourself, but just talk to me now. We're back in the UK, you're back home with your fighters. How did you find the whole Saudi Arabian experience in general, in terms for the fight and training and everything like that?
Yeah, I think the whole the whole trip, I think the way Matchroom set everything up, it was very, very professional. In terms of dates, we got treated well, everywhere we went, whether it was for the weigh-in, whether it's for the press conference, and I was really impressed with how the actual trip went. I mean, everything was it just ran like clockwork. It was brilliant.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, no, good. And from a perspective of obviously Dillian, got to interview him afterwards. You saw, if we're going to be honest, we saw a bit of a clip of him punching a hole in the wall in the changing room. Again, that just kind of highlights the frustration. But, we spoke to John Harding. From your perspective, how happy were you to hear the news about UKAD clearing him of any wrongdoing over these last few months?
Yeah, I only just tuned in a couple of seconds ago. Let me just say what's up to Pez, John Harding Jr. That's the first time I'd spent a long period with him. I've met him before and trained with him down at Monster Gym with Dillian and Mark Tibbs. But a great guy, he's very positive. He's working hard. So shout out to him and shout out to Mike Magic Hands as well. Good guy.
Yes, Mr. Magic Hands.
Exactly. So yeah,
good guy.
Yeah. So in terms of the UKAD, you obviously it was exciting.
Yeah, I've spoken to. I met Dillian about maybe about 3 months ago, and after speaking to him, he'd worked so hard to get the position that he got to, that I knew there had to be something wrong. So what we did, we just focused on training. We never talked about that. So when the news came in, it wasn't a shock because I believed him from the beginning. But it was just at the time I was thinking that should be a huge weight off his mind before he's about to fight. To hear that news the night before and then box the next day, because already, it was a bit, there wasn't really any consistency with the training camp, obviously, because you didn't know where he was going to fight, didn't know what was happening with this issue. So to hear that, it was another thing he didn't really have to worry about going into the fight, which was great. So I was very, very happy for him. I was, in my hotel room at the time when I heard about it, I was just smiling. I was happy.
Oh, perfect.
No, I want we all.
Exactly. And so, Javier, listen, I know it was a quick call. I was going to say, before we go, do you want to shout out your social media? I'm really looking forward to getting you on the show. But for the guys that are listening in the past, present, and future, they can follow you on social media. So, do you want to give your Facebook, Insta, or whatever it is you're using?
Yeah, I'll give up my Insta because everything else, honestly, it's become too complicated for me. I can't use all the different apps and stuff. So the only thing I'm using is Insta, and it is it's IQ, and it's Xavier Miller, which is XAVIER MILLER.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Listen, Xavier, pleasure meeting you finally, and looking forward to getting some of your other fighters. Do you want to? We spoke about your roster. I'll name the big ones. You've got Super Youssef, you've got K Prosper, and obviously Dennis the Menace Wahomey. So look forward to sitting down with you and those guys, chopping it up in the new year.
100%, and also shout out to Dillian. you had to deal with a lot, but still got the job done, and we look forward to next year.
Definitely. Thank you very much for your call, brother. Take care.
No problem. Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Cheers. Thanks. Going to 737. 737. How are you? What's on your mind?
Yo, brother.
What's going on?
What's good? This is Boxing Talk with Ade.
Yes. Hello. What's going on, Mr. Ade? How you doing, sir?
Bruv, let me just start by saying well done on your success. More power to you people. Listening in so far as well, it's been quality.
Oh, thank you very much.
I'm very happy with what you guys are doing, man. It's big things.
And you're a vet, so I'm gonna give you two. I'm gonna give you 2 rounds. So you got 6 minutes.
Wow.
What?
Yeah, exactly. First time caller, and you represented. So yeah, sorry, I'll give you the pass on that one. But yeah, bro, just talk to us from your perspective. How you found the Saudi fight week? Obviously, for you, it was I won't say a new experience, but it was a new experience for all of us, really. Talk to us about the fight week, the fight, and before we go, make sure we get your social media details. But yeah, do you want to expand on that?
Fight week was amazing. Obviously, we used to go to shows in London, York Hall, O2, and to go to a completely different country where there is no boxing, there is not as much sport. It was always going to be an eye opener, but we loved it. I mean, I was with you most times, and we've seen all the fighters walk around just casually in the fighter hotel, and that was a bit surreal being that close with them. But even the stadium, I mean, that stadium was dirt 90 days ago.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They built a 15,000 seater stadium in what, 3 months, and that's just incredible.
Incredible.
So it shows how boxing can stretch out, bro.
And what about what about we speak about the arena, but what about the whole sort of like, I'll say the grounds? It was like a fairground. I don't know if you saw like the big wheel when they had one of these catapult things and all the restaurants.
Bro, it was crazy.
Right?
It was like the London Eye Tower thing.
Yeah.
And that they had it was just crazy. Obviously there was a concert there the day before with Usher. I mean, these people are doing big. They've got big pockets.
Yes.
But they're just doing good things up there, and I'd love to go back there again.
Yeah, I think we will, to be fair. I think you can imagine, especially with AJ winning, you can imagine there's more fights there. But then talk to us about I guess fight week. We were both at the weigh-in. We saw 283 pounds. You got a ton of interviews as well. Some great content, great interviews.
Yeah.
But in terms of the weigh-in, when we saw that, I mean, what was going through your mind?
I was shocked on both. I can't lie. I was shocked with AJ, 16 stone 13. I've never seen him that small before.
Yep.
And for the first time, he acted like a normal guy. I was like, geez, where's all the muscles gone?
Yeah.
But when Ruiz stepped on at 283, I actually laughed. I didn't mean to. I was interviewing someone. I just laughed. I was like, how can this guy seriously be 20 stone 4 at 5'11"?
Yeah.
Like, you're just not serious. You're just not serious. And I was still scared for AJ because obviously he's a big guy. But you kind of knew movement-wise he's going to be like just non-existent.
Yeah.
And it was just, that's bad for a heavyoweight to defend these belts looking like that.
Yes.
It's just a bad slight on the sport.
Yeah, and I think you're right on when you say that. It was, I guess it shows the character of Joshua, but for Ruiz, he let a lot of people down, and I worry for him in terms of where he goes from here, because I think when the days start to it starts to sink in that he really ruined his only opportunity at really milking it. I think it's going to be slightly depressing for him, and I hope not, but I struggle there. So in terms of the fight itself, 2 questions. What did you think of the fight, and was there any other standout fighter or fight on the night that you would like to talk about?
Yeah, the fight itself was different. Obviously, we're not used to seeing Joshua kind of fight on the back foot, use jab, movement, lateral movement. We're normally used to seeing Joshua be a wrecking machine, basically just go toe-to-toe with someone, and 9 times out of 10 he wins. So to see Joshua fight on the back foot, I didn't think he could do it for 12 rounds. He shocked me. But it's good, right? Now we know he's got 2 or 3 different styles. Yeah. You can't just be a wrecking machine. Not everyone is going to lay down when you land your right hand. Sometimes you've got to do stuff different. And I think that's good when he does fight the Usyks and the Furies and the Wilders of the world. To know that Joshua has got a plan B. Because he needs a plan B. At the top level, you can't just have plan A. Yeah. Floyd Mayweather was a fighter that routinely changed his style over the years. When he got a bit slower, he went defensive. When he was fast, he was very offensive. You've got to change up the style. And I think it's good to see that Joshua now has 1 or 2, maybe even 3 different styles going forward. Yeah. As for a fight that impressed me, I mean, I loved... I've got to respect Marius Vac. Marius Vac shocked me. Yeah, I mean, everyone's forgetting about it. Everyone's kind of saying, Dylan Whyte was off. Marius Vac is durable, And like towards the end of the rounds, I mean, normally that like as soon as the 10-second clapper goes, he was the one that was put on Dillian Whyte. But respect to him because he could have laid down after 3 or 4 rounds. But he gave us a good 10-round fight.
Yeah, and the fans, and you know what? And before you go on, one thing a lot of people spoke to me about was the atmosphere. And what I felt, and I don't know if you noticed this, I felt the fans reacted to the atmosphere, the energy of the fight, and I felt Dillian Whyte and Povetkin Hunter got a good reaction. But yeah, I agree with you. Watch turned up. You know, it's the best Watch we've seen in a long time. But yeah, the other fight.
Yeah, the other fight, Hunter Povetkin. I mean, you got Hunter, that's a guy that top 15, trying to get into that top 10, and you've got Povetkin now, he's almost like a gatekeeper for the top 10. You want to get into that top 10, you've got to beat Povetkin. And I thought it was a good fight. I actually had it a draw as well. I had sort of Hunter winning the first few rounds, Povetkin kind of winning the middle rounds, and then the kind of final 2 or 3 rounds, probably Hunter as well. But that was a great fight, and Hunter proved that he's legit, but Povetkin also showed that there's a lot left. Yeah. I mean, those guys now against, I don't know, Whyte or Chisora or Hrgovic, there's so many good fights in the heavyweight division right now. Exactly. I think there's about 20 guys that could all match up with each other.
So, Ads,
all of them, like Dubois, Jagba, loads.
So let me ask you this: are you calling to Mr. Sauerland for a tournament for 2020 for an IBO or some type of title as such?
Yeah, there's got to be. You're right, and that's a good shout about the IBO because Joshua doesn't care about the IBO belt, but some of these other guys might care about it. Hrgovic might care about it. He might not be able to get the top 5, top 6 in, but the guys below that, the Kalnakis of the world, the Hunters, he can get those guys in the tournament. Yeah, Dubois, Joe Joyce, who can't get a fight right now. Exactly. There you go. So there's about 10 guys he could chuck into a World Boxing Super Series that would all be happy with the money as well. But I don't think they've got the money. That's the problem. But if they can get the money, then yeah.
And listen, Addy, appreciate you calling in.
Well, I'm upset to be home, but I want to go back there, man.
I tell you, I feel a lot of us feel like that already, man. That's that seasonal depression. But I would just before you go, I was going to say definitely. I'm going to ask you to shout your number. But I got to say, guys, listen. A lot of you know I've been doing this platform for a while. I'm always out for collaborating with people. You meet people. Boxing is a strange circle, but I met Ade probably on a Tuesday. I was like, he overheard me saying, shit, I forgot my mic. He was like, brother, I got a spare mic. Do you want to use it? I said, thank you. This guy let me keep his mic essentially for 4 days, and it helped me massively. So when you're listening to the audio, know that Boxing Talk with Ade supported that. So guys that are listening in, support him on YouTube. Subscribe if you can. Like his videos. The guy is grafting. And for me, I asked him, can you call the show? And he said, yes. And this is all within a week. So, brother, much respect. Bringing you down to the studio. And anytime you want me to come on your platform, it'll be more than an honor. So, pleasure to meet you, brother. So, please shout out your social media.
Man, bro. No problem. Social media is Ade.Oladipo, so Oladipo. And don't forget as well, I want my drink. I didn't do all that for free.
Brother, that's say no more. We're going to get that going.
I'll give you a drink, Nigel, boy. No worries.
We got that going, brother. So listen, we're going to move on, but thank you very much for calling in.
Well done, guys.
Thank you.
No, top man. I'm still going to listen in.
Cheers, thank you. Appreciate that. So going out to 921. 921. Hello?
Hello?
Yes.
How you doing?
Not too bad. Is that Dean?
It's Dean there, buddy. What's happening?
Hey, thank you. Whyte. How you doing, sir? You good?
How you guys doing? You okay?
No, it's good. Long time.
Yes.
Yeah, now we're here. We're back in the UK, live and direct. We're from Saudi. You get me?
No wrapping up. No pretzels. No.
Listen, it was close. It was close on the plane, man. It was close. But so I was going to Saudi. I kept it stealth. I didn't want to end up in the little Saudi jail there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's right. And that's what I'm saying. It's funny, bro. I spoke about how I found about that incident earlier on in the show. So like I said, on the way back, all day, all throughout the journey, it was just like, Dean, I'm glad you're on my flight. Dean, I'm glad you're on my flight. Glad to see you, fella.
No, there was all people on the plane saying, yeah, you better mind out. I don't do a Dean Whyte on you. Hey, listen, it was quite weird down there. It was quite surreal as well because everyone was like, yes, the hero bowing down and saying, you know, like, we definitely need you on our flight. But to be honest, I was really no good to anyone. I was quite tired. I didn't sleep great. I had a little sleep, but, you know, luckily it was really everyone from Sky to Matchroom and, you know, the who of boxing was there. So we had a nice flight.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no one having any form of attacks and trying to touch the doors.
Exactly.
If it was anyone in Matchroom or Sky, I'd have to brush them up equally the same. Sorry, guys, even though I like you, but no one touches the door on my watch, buddy.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. So, Dino, we had fun. It's not intentional, but it's been a pro Dylan Whyte show where we've had Javier call in, John Pester call in, and now yourself. But I've asked them all the same question. And I want to ask you. I mean, Saturday morning you saw the news from UKAD, the statement they released, and the detail within that statement. Just talk to us about how you felt that would affect Dylan going into the fight, and how happy you were as a team to hear about that.
You know what? Obviously, we can't go too into it because obviously there's still a little bit of legal legalities that are going to go on because obviously this has been something that's been going on for some months. Obviously, the statement said it best. Obviously, it's been vindicated. The case has been withdrawn. What that means is there's no case to answer. So he's innocent. There isn't no later punishment or anything. Because you know some of these things. One thing with UKAD, they don't let you get off the hook. If you've done something wrong, you will be punished. So they done a thorough investigation, and they was happy that that Dylan didn't do anything wrong, and they cleared him and withdrew the case. So saying that, obviously there was a big burden and there was a sigh of relief in terms of it couldn't have come at a better time. Obviously just like for the case, but a lot of the damage had been done already. A few told, you know what I mean? Because of turmoil and stress, and he's had to. You saw he came in 19.5 stone. That's not his natural fighting weight.
Yeah.
And obviously, he got what I'd call an ugly win, better than a pretty loss.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the win was main thing, what was important. But what we had Marius Wack, who had been in training camp for like 3-4 months, and was probably the best Marius Wack I've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he came and brung it. And maybe he noticed. When Dillian got on the scales, that he looked a bit heavy and didn't look at his, probably peak tremendous fighting weight, or what I mean? Maybe because he's been in the game a long time, and he's a professional. He knows, and he always brings it. Brings it. He's got granite chin, and he brings it. You know what I mean? So that's why we picked him. So do the hard. He noticed on Saturday night, and when Dillian being overweight, all the stress and everything that had gone on previous was there on show, but there was glimpses of nice, cute work in there. But at the same time, his normal pumping jab, what he'd normally have, the gears, what he'd normally go through, it just wasn't there for me. You know what I mean? It seemed a bit flat, one gear kind of in terms of what he was doing. But you know what? I'm just happy got the win. When he came out, you saw he wasn't too pleased with the performance. When I spoke to him, he just weren't really happy, and you could tell. But listen. When you move forward, and I spoke to him not long ago, literally, I said, listen, we need to get busy, man. You know what I mean? Because next year's a big year, a couple more fights, and you're in the mix to fight the likes of Deontay Wilder and whoever is there. But I'm saying, that performance there, he still got a, he knows he wasn't his best, but he knows that at his best, he's way better than that. Obviously, when he fought Ruiz, it was that, he was in peak fit condition, had to get off the canvas and managed to push through and put on a boxing clinical against him as well somewhat, you know what I mean? So, that's Dillian at his best.
Yeah.
And in the Parker fight and so on, the old school spirit of the fighters where they go down and get up and, battle and go through adversity, which he has done. But, when you want to challenge the big punching, bronze bomber, the Alabama bomber, or whatever, we're going to have to go up the gears. And I mean, we're going to have to just really, really work hard.
Yeah.
And he just needs to get in shape. But yeah, all was good, man. It was Saturday, man.
So now you're back in the, sunny London that we call it. Could I ask you about what's the future, as it's the end of Christmas and we always dwell upon the year and look at what's going on in the future. Mr. Pitters, what's going on? What's your plans of him and your movement in the management and making waves in the boxing scene? What's the plan for you and the new breed and the new crop?
Yeah, there's that for you guys. Obviously, when I was out there, Eddie and them was kind of pressuring me, talking about the fight and saying, "Oh, can he fight on the 19th?" And obviously, Shaq's definitely not going to fight on such short notice. They wanted, obviously, first he was up pretty, and then obviously I think Craig didn't. The negotiation with him and Eddie weren't done then they got their conclusion on that fight, and then now Shakan was saying obviously 2 weeks notice isn't enough, so that fight isn't definitely going to happen at that kind of short notice, you know. But possibly, obviously, Eddie's pulled out a purse bid. I spoke to him, man, Barry, and the likelihood of them going back to is quite slim. Literally, they were saying it's quite slim, but you know, nothing's impossible. Nothing is impossible.
Yeah, no, of course, brilliant,
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect, Dean. Listen, thank you for calling in.
Thank you very much.
We do appreciate your time. Listen, looking forward to getting you in the studio. Also with Shakan or one of your fighters. So definitely going to try and make that happen in the new year. But thank you for your time and calling in. I know you're a busy man, brother.
The seat's always here, bro.
Man, no worries, but listen, we'll catch up. Thanks very much. Yeah?
Thank you. No worries,
no
brother.
worries.
Thank you.
Take care.
Appreciate it. And cheers. Going out to 446. 446. The floor is yours. Question or statement?
Statement. Thanks for putting me through, Kojo. Amazing show as usual.
Thank you. Thank you.
TV was out there in Saudi, man, and you done a phenomenal job on the YouTube channel.
Appreciate
bringing
that.
some quality content to us.
Yeah.
Just a couple of things. It was great to see Dean and Whyte back. Good to hear Dean on your show as well.
Yep.
You know, I just want to talk about Joshua and his performance. I mean, just before the fight, we had a brief conversation, and you know, I just thought, like, based on his mental statement, it would have determined what kind of fight Joshua would have had. And you know, when I speak to you, I'll say, like, I reckon it's going to be like a clinical points victory, right? And what that showed to me was like the state of his mind, yeah. And yeah, he done a great job, right? But he fought a completely out of shape Ruiz, right? So now when it comes to those kind of fights, the likes of Deontay Wilder or Fury, I think most people would probably say Deontay Wilder for me is going to be the firm favourite in that fight. I just want to ask your opinion on that as well, and your colleagues' opinion on that as well. For the fight between Deontay Wilder and Joshua, if it happens, how do you think we'll go about? What will be the outcome?
I'll let Sam, you go first.
I mean, that was so many questions in one just then. I feel the whole kind of outcome with Joshua and where he's going to go in the future. I think from now, because we said, who was it that said earlier about the 3 stars that he had? He can only go from strength to strength with where he's going. And
that was your uncle, a bit of bias.
Yeah.
But okay.
Generally, he can only go from strength to strength. And for him, of course, he's got the U6 coming up.
But Deontay Wilder, you think he can?
I think yes. I believe if he gets past Usyk, I think the world is his oyster. I generally think he's outboxed the tactician in Usyk if he beats him.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm about to go back to the old school nappy hair AJ, the old mean tough guy that's about to dust blows with this guy, because that's the only way I'm going to beat you.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, for me, I would still say, if I'm being honest, I still think it's slightly 50-50. Probably, if I have to pick, I think you would probably still say the 60-40 sits with Wilder for me, purely because Wilder has the detonator. And I think Joshua just showed a few, I don't want to even call them flaws, but I think against Ruiz, you spoke about the condition he came in. As much as Joshua wasn't to know that, when Ruiz did up the ante, you're talking about the 8th, the 9th round, and you can see that from, even if you look at the punch stats, when he upped the ante, he caught Joshua a couple of times and Joshua reacted. If you remember, I saw his leg kind of like just stiffen up. So I just feel with Wilder, what we're seeing at the moment is that he's going to take his time to land the shot. And I just don't know. Again, Joshua was perfect for the 12 rounds against Ruiz. I gave Joshua every single round. 100%. But will he be able to do that against Wilder? I don't know. And I don't even think Usyk is a testament to that, because I think what Usyk, one, lets you hit him. His defense isn't great and he doesn't have an equalizer. So I think your strategy needs to be, even if 110, 120% is there, that's what you have to do against Wilder. I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, my view is, if you compare like Deontay Wilder and Fury, and we know how strong Fury is as a technical boxer, right? Yes, he wasn't completely out of shape, but Wilder caught him. Yeah, Wilder caught him, and we saw what happened. You just hit the nail on the head there. Ruiz called AJ a couple of times towards the end of the fight, and I thought he mildly hurt him, right?
Yeah, mild as well.
With Wilder as well. Wilder's got a far longer reach. He can't do that. You know how he fought against Ruiz. He can't do that with Wilder, right? You know, because what Wilder's going to go for him, he's got that longer reach, yeah, and he won't be able to out jab him. I think within 6 or 7 rounds, Wilder will probably catch him, and I think we now know Joshua can get hurt, and essentially, I think what's going to happen, they will delay that fight for a long time until Wilder ages, because it's clear now Wilder is way too much of a risk, right? Fury, they may fight, but Fury and Wilder, they're going to fight in a couple of years' time. Yeah, now it's going to be just going through people like the likes of Usyk, Dylan Whyte, Pulev, some of the mandatories, and then those fights are going to happen in there. So yeah, for me, Deontay Wilder will win by knockout.
Yeah. So can I ask, were you impressed with Joshua's performance at all on Saturday?
No, I wasn't impressed, because look, man, you got to think about it. He's fighting a guy that's coming 283 pounds, right? Massively overweight. The guy's 6'3", right? I mean, you'd expect him to have done that in the first fight, yeah. And I think if he really wanted to, could have probably put Ruiz down. And look, right, Joshua's fan base was built up on knocking people out, right? And you go back to what he was saying, you know, that whole video done the rounds, you know, when he was making comments about Tyson Fury beating Klitschko, right? So you got that element to it as well. No, I wasn't too pleased, and I think a lot of people felt impressed, you know. And you see that woman at the end of the press conference, she said the same thing. People were expecting a lot more, you know, and to really have got his buzz back, right, and to have been a clinical performance. You know, if he'd done a blitzing knockout of Ruiz, I think the world was like, James Joshua's back. That just didn't happen, you know.
I mean, I think it's a fair statement. I do think people are being harsh, but I do get your point, and I won't. It's one of those to and fro's. But yeah, I think, you know, just because he lost, he had to adopt a game plan, which I didn't think he could do. I just think no matter what, with Ruiz's condition, Joshua wasn't to know that until the day of the weigh-in, and by then his preparation had been done. So yeah, but I definitely understand your point. But I think, look, like you said, let's just see what happens in the future. So listen, we're going to move on. But Nam, thank you very much for the call.
Big up, man. Thank you.
Appreciate all the support, man.
Thank you, man.
Brother.
Cheers, bro.
Thanks. Cheers. So as you can see, guys, that was a packed show. Going to do a quick 3-minute wrap up on a few bits. As Unks called in earlier and spoke about Commey versus Lopez. Let's just get through the best way to actually. Let's get some vitals, I think. So you got Richard Commey hailing from Ghana, so you know already I'm going to be supporting my brother, and I'm backing him. That's what I'm saying. Straight Bukum, straight watch it, and you laugh. He's taken on Lopez. Look, Commey's got 29 wins, 26 knockouts. Lopez is coming into this 14 wins, 11 knockouts. So Commey's got an 83% knockout percentage. Lopez at 78%. I mean, for me, I look at this year as a whole, 2019. I think Commey, they've both had good years. I think Lopez has definitely been the more active. This will be his 4th fight this year. However, I think the level of opponent, as much as it has gone up through each fight, I think you would definitely say after the Nakanomo fight and going into this, he's facing tough tests. He started really well. Top Rank will backing him. But I think, you know, they might have to pump the brakes on this guy, because I think he's meeting a guy in Richard Commey who is a dog. If Lopez really wants to win the title, which he's been asking for, he better be prepared to bring the dog fight, because we're talking about Richard Commey. 2 key wins in this year, one against Chaniev and Beltran, knocked both fighters down multiple times to go on to stop his defeats. So we've seen that Commey's definitely got the power. He's got the boxing smarts. How I see this fight potentially playing out is I see that Commey's going to be patient. Lopez is coming 100%. Into this trying to be the boxer. He's talking about the Philly shoulder roll and all of this kind of stuff. I think Commey is a seasoned fighter, and I think working with Andre Rozier, I think they're going to have a seasoned game plan. So I expect Lopez to be a bit flashy earlier, but I expect Commey to be able to cut down the ring, and I'm going with a Commey stoppage late, because I think his power will be telling, and I think Lopez hasn't fought anybody with that power and that type of tenacity.
No, that's true. You know, for once we actually agreed on something. I believe in the Ghanaian Black Star champion to really come and stick it on Lopez, and I think this is a fight that's about who wants it more, who really is really down to get dirty, and talking about all these shoulder rolls and how you're going to do things. To me, that screams insecurity. To me, that screams someone who's scared of someone that's going to take them into deep water that they haven't been in before. And
100%.
here, Raps on TV. Commey gets the stoppage.
Yeah, so that's what we're looking for. Look forward to that. You got Crawford, who's also kind of headlining the card against a guy. Apologies, I really don't know how to pronounce his name, but he has also been marketed as the Mean Machine. I think Crawford's got to get through this fight. I'm hearing rumblings that he's kind of looking at changing the team or looking at, you know, what his options are.
Crawford.
Crawford. I think
he wants to switch up his team.
2019 really can't be positive for him. You're signing off against a guy that has been marketed as Mean Machine because his name isn't relevant, and you're looking across the street, whether you like it or not. Big fights could be happening. You just heard Danny Garcia has got a fight announced for February. Obviously, that's not Spence Jr. because of the Spence accident, but it would have been Spence Jr. Then you're going to see Sean Porter get announced to fight soon.
Exactly.
Then you're going to see Pacquiao have a fight announced soon. So, look, I think if you're Crawford, you're just saying to yourself, where are my big tests coming from? So, yeah, we're going to see how that goes moving forward. But, yeah, for me, definitely look forward to the boxing this weekend. Lastly, just want to say thank you for everybody that's been tuning in, liking the videos on the Facebook. Make sure you pump that. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend.
Keep calling me out.
Raps on TV. Exactly. We've got the man here is making, I'll say, claims, but no, it's all good. I was going to say, but you didn't say anything bogus, so I allow you on this one. But guys, next week, hopefully, going to have a good show. I'm looking to bring Al Siesta in his fight at Luther Clay. They're fighting and headlining the Next Gen show alongside Riakport and Jack Massey.
Yes.
So, guys, listen, appreciate all the support. Please remember to like, share, subscribe, follow wherever you find Raps on TV. Fans Talking Boxing. We're out. What do you want to say, Sam?
Peace, people. Keep supporting him. Had a strong year this year, and we're looking forward to all the stuff we want to bring you next year in the interviews and exclusives.
Perfect.
Peace.
Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready here. He's taken another, and Howard Foster has stopped it. Wow, that is going to be controversial.